Okay, so this video, I kind of want to talk about the elephant in the room. And if you're any person of color within the organization, I'm sure these thoughts have run across your mind at some point. This cognitive dissonance, this is like something real, and I think people of color, they deal with this on a regular basis of being the media not really putting us in ads and magazines and commercials, so we're kind of like used to this. But within God's organization, I think it should be a difference. Right? With God's one true organization, we should stand out amongst all the sea of other religions. And for some reason, Jehovah's Witnesses, they do not do this at all. They don't stand out. They become just like everyone else. And my question is, do you think the governing body is racist? Now, when I say racist, I'm not thinking of overtly racist, because first of all, I've never met those men in my life. I don't know who they are, but the brothers, they use by their fruits. You can know the true nature of their heart. You can know the true nature of their actions. And when I observe what they provide for us in the literature and the things that they put online, you really have to ask yourself, are these men racist? Now, when I was younger, I would notice my uncle, he said he didn't want to be a witness. And I would be like, well, why don't you want to be a witness? This is my aunt's husband. He was like, well, all the literature is just nothing. It's just nothing but white people. And I was like, what? I was like, oh, why does that matter? Like, this is when I'm on my pioneer kick. Like, why does that matter? Like, it's the truth, We're giving you real truth where you're going to make it through the news system. Why does it matter what color the Bible characters are, as long as you're getting true information? That was my cognitive dissonance. That was my way of reasoning that, you know what? My uncle does have a point. That all the Bible characters are white. That's interesting. Now, if you are white or you just don't comprehend why that's an issue, I would recommend you go and research Brown versus Board of Education. And I'm going to just tell you, just to sum it up, basically what it was. So they were saying there were children, right? They did a study on them. And basically, because Black kids are not seen in the media, we don't see them in any type of marketing, we don't, back then, now they're getting a little bit better, but back then, like in the 50s, you didn't see them any type of marketing, you didn't see Black people anywhere, you only see Black people associated with danger or drugs or going to jail, and so, they did a study on the children, and they gave them a bunch of dolls to choose from. Half of them were Black, and then half of them were white dolls, right? And they said, pick out the doll that you think is the prettiest. And all the Black kids would go and point to the white doll. They said, pick out the doll you'll mostly want to play with. And all the Black kids, they would point out the white doll, right? And then they said, now which doll do you look like, right? And all the Black kids will point out the Black doll.
Which doll is the pretty doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? Which doll is the nice doll? And which doll is the bad doll? And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and he has 2 eyes.
Which doll is the ugly doll? Why is that doll ugly?
Because he's Black.
Which doll looks most like you?
Like me?
Yeah, which one looks like you?
And that one.
Okay.
That is subconscious brainwashing, right? The world in which we live in, they do that to us now. The organization, I'm sure, are aware of those studies, because I'm sure people have wrote into the branch about, you know, why are there only white people depicted within the Bible characters, and they have made no active effort in changing that. Why? Now, when a black child says, you know, I'd rather play with the white doll because I think it's a better doll and it's prettier, what does that say about themselves? They're saying about themselves that they're less than, that they don't think they're as attractive, that they wouldn't want to play with people that look like them. Even though it's the same doll, the complexion of the doll is what matters to them, because the lighter doll is better. Now, when you're getting these watchtowers and you're seeing depictions of, you know, white Bible characters, you know, a white Jesus, you know, you're saying to a community, not just black people, I'm talking about Hispanic people, I'm talking about Native people, I'm talking about Asian people. You're saying to all those other races and cultures that they're less than, because the people in the Bible were all white, and we need, subconsciously, they're not saying it with words, that we need white people to save humanity. And then if you reflect on the governing body members, they're all white but one. In the history of the organization, there's only one black brother that represents the governing body. And this may be me being a little sensitive, but do you notice he's the only one wearing a brown suit and everyone else got black and blue on? Like, they are so strict about dress, and I know that for sure, that I don't know how they allowed him to get away with wearing a brown suit when everyone else is wearing black and blue. That doesn't make sense. I don't know, it seems kind of deliberate if you ask me. I don't know about you, but I don't think I would want to worship a God that only speaks to white men. God created all of us. God created all of us with all different complexions. God created all of us with all different hair textures. You know? Why is the God of the Jehovah's Witnesses only communicating with white men? What does that say to me? That could say to me that I could receive it and say, I'm less than. I'm not whole. You know, I need white people to save me. Or I could say to myself, maybe their God is not my God. I think, and I know, because my uncle said this to me at least 17, 18 years ago about the problems he had with the organization only depicting the Bible characters as white men. I know people had been writing to the branch saying the same thing. I know people have. I went to a predominantly black congregation, and we will have conversations about this out in service. You know, why are all the Bible characters white? And the circuit, in the assembly hall that we met at, when they built it, and they put the pictures of the Bible characters all over the wall, and they did different Bible illustrations, all of them were white. So when our assembly hall was built, in like the early 2000s, so it wasn't like a time during segregation or like a time where, you know, you couldn't buy some brown paint and make one of the Bible characters brown. What was the inconvenience in making at least one of the characters brown? Like, the Bible doesn't say what race anybody was. They give ideas like Jesus hair being like wool, or Joe being Oriental. And I remember talking to people about that, and they would say to me, like, oh, well, Oriental then and Oriental now could have been two different things. Oriental to them could have been white still. Like, is that how you reason the weirdness in that? Or even Jesus's hair being like wool. Well, why does that matter? That shouldn't matter. It's about Jesus's message. It does matter. I think if the organization, if they just took that one scripture and made Jesus' hair curly, I think I would be content. I'm like, all right, well, at least Jesus' hair was like wool. But I don't see any other religions doing that. But the true religion, we at least make Jesus' hair like wool, But we can't even do that, and the Bible does say that. So what is the hang up of actually depicting the characters with different races if we don't actually really know? Why do they all have to be white? And this is purposeful, because when we were at the assemblies, at the conventions, and they would have the Bible dramas, and there would be live action, I'm like, at least then I can see my Jesus be black, or my Jesus be Hispanic, or Asian, whether it be Middle Eastern Asian or Japanese or Chinese Asian. I stand in ovation for me, because it would be variety, right? But when they started making everything in video form, again, all the Bible characters white. At my convention, and you know what really pissed me off was when I went to the assembly hall, and I guess they decided to start changing some of the characters to be brown. They're never any of the main characters. They're always either the bad characters or just people that are not even mentioned in the Bible, and just background people. So at my assembly hall, I remember, and people I don't know if people don't pay attention or they don't comment on it, but it was a picture of David and Goliath. David, of course, not changed, but Goliath was made black. What does that say to your subconscious? I know exactly, being a black woman, what it does to your subconscious. Back in the 2000s, 2007, 2008, black women, they stopped chemically processing their hair to make their hair straight, because back in the 90s and the 80s, that's all we did. We straightened our hair to make ourselves look more presentable when we went to work, so that we can find employment, right? So I remember maybe 2008, 2009, I cut all of the relaxer out of my hair, meaning I cut all the chemicals out of my hair, because I wanted to wear my hair the way that it grew out of my scalp. And my reasoning with that was, well, in the new system, we're not going to have chemicals to straighten our hair. So I'm going to wear my hair and exactly how it grows out of my head, so that I know how to deal with my hair in the new system. That was my reasoning for being natural and taking care of my health, because I wanted to eliminate all the chemicals out of my body, especially when relaxers are usually related to black women having problems with fertility, and black women having problems with having fibroids and painful periods, so I wanted to get rid of that out of my life. So I remember writing it on my Facebook and saying, I cut all my natural hair, all of my straight hair off, and I'm going natural. And because I know in the new system we're going to have our regular hair, so I need to get used to it now. And I remember a brother commenting and saying, well, you don't know what Jehovah's going to give us. And I said, what do you mean? And he was like, well, we're imperfect right now, and maybe in a new system we're going to be perfect and our hair is going to be straight. So he reasoned with himself, because being constantly bombarded with seeing white as beautiful, constantly seeing in the watchtower that light skin, straight hair are the people that saved us in biblical times, that our hair was imperfect, and that the only way we're going to enter into God's kingdom is through perfection, and that perfection is us having straight hair. Am I making sense? He believed that the way that our hair grew out of our scalp was a sign of imperfection, and that in the new system, God was going to make our hair better by straightening it. That is a problem. That people imagine this idea of what the new system is going to be like. Oh, and they're changing their actual idea of what is beautiful because they feel like that Jehovah is just going to go change that and take that away when we're perfect. That is what the problem is when you make every Bible character white. Now, we're not talking about outright racism. We're talking about subconscious brainwashing. Because remember, Brown versus Board of Education, when you do not see people in the media that look like you, you automatically think the way that you look is wrong. Who you are as an individual is wrong. There's something about you that is wrong when that's not true. It's just you're constantly being bombarded with blonde hair, blue eyes, light skin. Is beauty. You know, it's what is right. And then the same thing in the Watchtower. Brown hair, light skin, you know, white skin is what are the only people that our God speaks to. And I do not believe in that. I do not want to worship a God that only speaks to white men. Whatever God that they're serving, whatever God that they're communicating with, that is not my God. So that's just my thoughts. You know, you can share your thoughts below. But I think there's a real issue within the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses where they put white men on the pedestal, and they don't. The people that are in power, they're all white men. Here I go again. They are an organization made of people all around the world. Why are only white men in power? Ask yourself that. So are the governing body members racist? Well, I would say look at their fruits. Look what they provide to their organization. And then you be the judge.